This is gonna absolutely change how we build software, and we're not even getting into infrastructure. People want more customizations, which means more Uber internal data sources needing to come on the platform. So I've been at Uber last 4 years, working on Michelangelo, which is like SageMaker, like ML platform at Uber. Last couple of years, I dove into GenAI, working on RAG, vector search, and building apps like Genie. When you're telling them you use Genie, and then you feed it with your completely random Slack chatter, and then it gives you documentation you could have dreamed of. How do they react to that?
Hi, this is Benjamin. Before we jump into the show, I wanted to quickly reach out on a personal note. We've just launched Firebolt Core. Firebolt Core is the free, self-hosted version of our Postgres-compliant SQL query engine. Firebolt Core runs anywhere. You can run it on your laptop, you can run it in a scale-out configuration on your local on-prem data center or public cloud environments. Firebolt Core is great for either running big data ELT jobs on, for example, your Iceberg tables, or powering low latency customer-facing analytics on big data. We'd love for you to try out Core and give us feedback. You can either hop onto the GitHub discussions or issues, kind of join our Discord, or just send me an email at benjamin@firebolt.io. We added a link to our GitHub repository to the show notes. And with that, let's jump straight into today's episode. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Data Engineering Show. Today it's our pleasure to have Paarth joining from Uber. He's a staff engineer there. Welcome to the show. It's really great to have you. Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, about your role at Uber, what you're working on?
Yes, thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, Eldad, for having me. And it's my pleasure here. Yeah. So I've been at Uber last 4 years, working on Michelangelo, which is our like SageMaker like ML platform at Uber. I've been working on feature store, online serving at scale. Basically, we have millions of requests that we need to scale with many models. And then last couple of years, I dove into GenAI, working on like RAG, vector search, and building apps like Genie that we are going to talk about, where basically we had on-call, productivity, you can say pains that we wanted to solve on our own. And that's how Genie organically just came out of a hackathon, as you're talking about. And then it just literally just started growing the last couple of years. And Arnab and team have been one of our partner teams. And we have been working with many partner teams to really up-level the bot, because we realized that plain RAG doesn't work. So that's how we started this journey of accuracy improvements. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So for those of our kind of listeners who never heard of Genie, I hadn't heard of Genie before. Like, you want to get a bit more context of what role it fits within Uber, kind of what workloads it serves, basically?
Yeah. For folks who don't know Genie, basically Genie is like, think of it as like your on-call assistant, right? So, and Uber is big into Slack usage. So different infra teams have their Slack channels, whatnot. I think different companies use Teams also, maybe. But basically, you go to a Slack channel, let's say you have a problem with Spark, or you have a problem with, Flink, or any of those open source technologies. You go to a channel where you have your infra team engineers helping you. And because these technologies are widely used, you have to wait a lot, right? And sometimes engineers are dealing with high severity issues, and they don't have time to help you with every small issue that you're running into. And documentation, as you know, engineering is not easy to maintain. So that's where, the pain started coming, that, okay, we are waiting on calls to respond, and then you're feeling frustrated. And that's where it felt like almost like a bot assistant would be very helpful, which can search for you from different services, different documentation, and give you the answer. So you don't not waiting on calls as much here.
Nice, super cool. Can you take us through like that data pipeline that powers Genie? Like, where are you getting data from? Into what systems does it feed? How much data are you handling? Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so I mean, data sources, what we realized is, for our engineers to really, get help, data sources really should be internal only, because we customize a lot of these open source engines for making it work at Uber scale. So we have data sources like Wiki, Jira's, Stack Overflow. We have our own version of Stack Overflow. We have Google Docs. And then we have people even storing data, custom, you can say, policies, custom information in PDFs. So there is a variety of these data sources, and obviously source code is another one now. So we listen to and ingest all these different data sources in our own, hosted vector DB solutions. And then on top of it, we basically want to do lookup, semantic search, and then we're obviously what we're going to talk about, like how we are customizing search and retrieval for each particular use case to really make it better.
Okay, nice, super cool. Are you able to share how much data Genie is handling overall?
Maybe not the specific numbers, but I mean, so we have at this point close to 350 plus channels, right?
Wow.
Use
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that's quite a lot, and every channel basically has some flavor of their data that is we are ingesting. So what we have tried to do is, instead of building, because we are a very small team, instead of building a mega scale pipeline that just ingests all data sources and then keeps a central data source solution, we instead are giving users the flexibility to ingest what data sources they want, right? And what we found also is that works better in terms of search. So at least for every team, they are looking at, like, let's say, hundreds of thousands of wiki pages, hundreds of Google Docs, and then we have design docs that we also ingest in that. So I would say per use case, you're looking at, with a compressed ratio, at least few hundred megabytes to gigabyte or several gigabytes, depending upon how much the user is wanting to ingest, right? Yeah.
As the core vector store, is that also open source technology you're customizing at Uber? Is that like an out of the box existing piece of data infrastructure? Tell us more about that, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, so our team doesn't manage the core technology itself, but yeah, we use OpenSearch as one of the vector DB solutions. We also have our own ingrown vector DB solution as well. So which is what our sister team in the search org manages for us. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that has become popular in general. We're talking about Lance DB is another alternative, and you guys obviously do Firebolt as well. But yeah, OpenSearch seems to at least our search team seem to feel like OpenSearch would be a good solution for us. Yeah.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. Cool. Was that the first time in your life you built these like kind of rack style pipelines at scale? Like it's new tech for everyone, right? Kind of how did you even onboard into that? Like how did you figure out how to make good technology choices? Where did you learn these things from?
And does it feel like doing the Hadoop days at the beginning again? So it's kind of like, okay, basically blank sheet. We need to come up with the whole stack from scratch. There is some open source spread at some places. Engineers going back to building new infrastructure to serve new workloads. That must be like 3 times in a lifetime kind of exciting thing, right? Doesn't happen every day.
Yeah, 100%. And this funny thing that while I was at Amazon, I was part of this AWS chatbot team, and we were exactly building same thing there. And that was pre-LLM era, 2018. And it almost seemed like I was like, okay, and it feels nostalgic to literally rebuild what I was building at Amazon before.
So you know how everything ends up, right? Everything ends up as a cloud native data warehouse.
Yes,
That's what happened to Hadoop eventually, right?
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
like looking at the tech, looking at the workloads and those new use cases, like it feels like innovation at scale is re-happening from scratch again. And this is exciting. Like to us, it's super exciting, and it must be even more exciting to you, given the access to the data that the team has. So tell us more, like how did you stitch it together? What are you specifically proud of? How do you see that evolving in the next few months? Let's not even think 12 months, right?
Absolutely. Just to even connect the journey, right? Like when we started, it almost everything just happened very organically. I don't think we planned everything, but so there was, to your question of how did we stitch everything together? It almost felt like we are doing what EMR was doing. You have your Hadoop and big data technology, and we needed these pipelines to basically process all this data quickly. And then that's where we started betting on Spark to really help us and Uber uses Spark a lot. So we were like, okay, let's go with what is proven well at Uber. So we bet on Spark. We use Spark a lot for data processing, data parallelly, having to chunk it, shuffle it really quickly, and make sure we can create embeddings at scale, because that's really the main two bottlenecks. You chunk your data, you have your all data ready, and then parallelly create the embeddings at scale, right? So we had to basically scale our, you can say, the whole infra layer to chunk data faster, to be able to create embeddings at scale, and you so that meant also we had to scale our what we call as gateway engine that really helps us create those embeddings at scale. So we had to scale all these layers. And where I see going with this, I think that's maybe a very hard question, given how fast this technology changes and the expectations of customers is growing so much. But I do see, like, I mean, I think in general, what we are seeing definitely is people want more customization. So which means more Uber internal data sources needing to come on the platform. And then definitely everybody is going with the agentic route now at this point. And few use cases that we have really nailed down and worked well, including the one that we published in the blog. We definitely see agents as the way to interact, and especially MCP servers have come now. So agents, MCP servers, and your custom data sources, stitching it all this together is really how you can make, at least in my opinion, a very good Genie app now.
Right. Yeah. The innovation in the space has been like super crazy. Like how quickly there's new frameworks popping up, kind of gaining tractions, etc. Like we're working on some agents now that, for example, like optimize your SQL queries and kind of these types of things, and are deeply built into the product. And for me as well, I kind of like having like this system C++ programming background. It's been fun learning about this like completely other part of tech ecosystem. And then one thing I'm personally very curious about is like the intersection between like LLM and kind of SQL query optimizers, because I have this like more traditional compiler query optimizer background, right? And like now we're kind of fusing it with LLMs and like figuring out, okay, like when are LLMs great, kind of when are more traditional query optimizers that like reason about correctness great. And it's crazy how in like so many pieces of technologies, like you're now like infusing these LLMs and kind of realizing, oh damn, like you can build mind-blowing things that weren't possible before.
Yeah, totally. And that you hit the point really well, that this whole new suite of ways to connect with the databases have come, right? Like it was not there. I was reading some blogs about how Google has basically had this agentic thing which can connect you to all Google cloud technologies. And I mean, we at Uber also have done, I believe there's another another blog by a sister team, done basically query co-pilot with what they call it, which is your query optimization using LLM, and making sure you can write quick queries, right? And that's a new suite of things that is not even, nobody even thought about that. But yeah, you can pretty much write all your queries using LLM and build that framework. Yeah.
Let's not get into predictions on how painful that's going to be on the market. But if we just focus on the optimizer within the database, it being owning that brain for the last 40 years, being responsible to make all smart decisions for any user, any query, any architecture. Like the one thing that hasn't changed is the way the optimizer feels about the users. It needs to make most decisions for that. Now it's changing. Now the optimizer has part of its brain being outsourced through an LLM. It gets back the recommendation. It still needs to do optimizations at lightning speed because, right, you're getting tens of thousands of queries in. You need to optimize all queries. So you need to get feedback from the optimizer, and then your database now needs to think differently. It needs to allow to infuse those hints, that context, that insight that the new LLM optimizer went through into any query, right? So, and that's changing how database engineers and databases are thinking about optimization. But what it also does, which is probably excites Benjamin and us and anyone who deals with efficiency, it changes the way databases are kind of being released and what the focus is. If my LLM can go for 30 minutes and go over 50 dimensions of optimizations and figure things out that it would take me maybe a week, or two people in my company on Slack giving an advice how to change the granularity of a block or how to change the threshold of RAM or whatever optimizers do. Now it's all about how much can we expose, how much technology, how much variation, and like how specific can we get, right? There are 100 ways to implement a join algorithm. Now we're going to expose all of them because now the LLM can actually make sense out of it. Like that was unheard of. So it's all about abstraction, right? Like you always have this trade-off. Every database engineer will tell you there's a trade-off between being fast and how fast you get to being fast. It's hard to get to be fast, so that right, that snowflake abstraction that we like to say comes in. But now it's changing. So now everyone is mama's genius with an LLM. Every agent can just spend this 30 minutes on running queries and getting actual results, actual telemetry no human being has ever looked at. There are levels of telemetry that no human being should ever look at, but agents love
Even
looking at it.
I have certain levels of telemetry I don't want to take a look at when building the database, where the
Exactly.
agent will happily do it for me and he'll thank me after, saying kind of for the opportunity to look into it.
Totally. Yeah.
So yeah, so it's exciting. And then instead of show tables and show statistics or explain syntax that you build for users, you're now, okay, so how do I actually provide granular, summarized, relevant profiling information for agents so they can learn fast, focus on sending less data. So this is very exciting. And this is going to absolutely change how we build software. And we're not even getting into infrastructure. So it's really exciting that you guys, like the way Uber has always been flexible and open-minded, right? Like it's for the last, I don't know, more than 10 years, going to the Uber blog, you go there and there's always engineers experimenting at scale. So meeting you now is exciting and really like hearing about it. So tell us kind of how do users react when you're telling them you use Genie and then you feed it with your completely random Slack chatter and then it gives you documentation you could have dreamed of, right? How do they react to that?
Yeah. And I think, I mean, we've even evolved from, okay, just being like, okay, hey, we will give you the right documentation to like, okay, we're starting to evolve into a situation where you're like, okay, we'll also start taking actions on your behalf, right? And that's really where I think to our conversation about the databases being smart and, doing so much pre-processing before you even come to the database. I think it's getting similar situation where the bot can do a lot more now, right? And I almost connected back to my AWS journey where we're literally trying to do the same thing in natural language where you could manage all your AWS resources using natural language. And that's really where I think we are going with this. Any problem, be it like, okay, I have a permission issue. Okay, I need to, let's say, update my Spark resources. I need to get more capacity. Pretty much all of that can be done now with behind the scenes, not only bot looking at your documentation through MCP servers now coming, and previously, obviously, we had the tools that all the internal tools that we built to have the LLM be able to leverage it. All of them can pretty much now take actions on your behalf, right? And that's where agents become so powerful that you can have different sub agents which can take specific action for you. And then you have this intent agent supervisor, which does pre-processing of the query and takes in, figures out, okay, which particular sub agent is really the right one for me to, resolve this question. And then that sub agent goes, takes actions, look at the documentation, can do a lot more things because of this whole agentic framework that has come with LangGraph and other technologies, obviously. Yeah.
Nice, super cool. So if you contrast this to your time building similar looking technology for the end user at AWS, right? Like it is a completely different technology stack. right? In the sense that there's like, you solve the same problem, but it's like or humankind figured out like a smarter abstraction to actually solve these problems in a better way. Like maybe take us through that also. Like, do you actually feel like the things you like, I don't know, like maybe like, do you feel like the things that you did then at Amazon helped you become a better engineer in this new age? Or do you actually think, okay, it's like going back to kind of zero and kind of rebuilding all knowledge you have in this space
That's my
from
instinct that I've built over my career, and I can't explain that. Like, yeah,
Yeah, I feel like, as you're saying, right, Eldad, right? Like, I mean, no instinct that you derive from goes waste, right? So at Amazon, whatever we built, it was pre-LLM era. So definitely, I would say the technology was maybe not as robust, mature before. But that intuition that, you comes from, okay, building this kind of bot, I feel like that intuition came again as we were starting to see this technology come, and we were like, hey, this looks like, okay, you can pretty much fit all these pieces together. So I almost felt like that experience in Amazon was like a starting experience of, okay, how the chatbots can really do a lot more. And then this was like a stepping stone to say, okay, now the technology is finally there. Now you can stitch everything together. So almost feels like going from level 0 to level 1 as building this similar experiences again. Yeah.
right. Okay, nice. That's very cool. Yeah, it's funny, like, we have these conversations every now and then with, like, data engineers, right? Like, similar to what Eldad said, it was like, okay, like, back in the Hadoop days, and then, like, kind of, like, modern cloud data warehouses, and then, like, next generation of data warehouses, and it feels like there's these cycles in every kind of, area of technology where just you take that leap, but then some things kind of stay the same. So looking ahead, like, what are you guys working on right now? What are you particularly excited about at the moment? Kind of what are new challenges you want to solve that you might not be solving perfectly right now? Kind of take us through the next couple of months.
Yeah. I think where we have landed last 6 months, including the blog we published, right? Like, so I think we've found out that how we can do this agentic solutions, and I think what I call is agentic Genie now. Basically, Genie was our, you can say, traditional plain React RAG style bot, and now Genie has become agentic Genie, right? So what we have seen with several use cases is agentic Genie works well when designed well, when you've analyzed the problem of which type of sub problems the bot should resolve per channel, per use case, and then you go with solving each sub problem with each sub agent. If you do that way, it works really well, right? And that's what we have seen has delivered good success. I think where our challenge right now, which is where I'm still thinking, and it's not something we have designed or thought through well, but how do you now, and it's funny that how, or funny or good in a way, that how Cursor and other IDs have up-leveled what agentic experience can mean for code. And I kind of want to take that same Cursor-like experience for agentic Genie, where you just come and agentic Genie, without you having to do anything, figures out all the right sub problems for you as a channel owner, as a use case owner. We decide underneath which particular sub agents to call, and which particular MCP server tools to interact with, and it just figures out everything for you, right? That's what where I would like this North Star to be. That way, it becomes agentic Genie uh, is like a perfect on-call assistant. What Cursor and other IDs have done for coding, right? Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Super cool. So are you guys using Cursor to build Genie?
I think every developer is likely using Cursor and any other of those forms of ID experience and CLI experience right now. I mean, yeah, everybody uses that, absolutely. It makes your life better for sure.
Yeah, same here at Firebolt. Very cool. So maybe zooming out from Uber a bit, right? Like, what are you excited about in the space in general? Is there like kind of like, how do you actually stay up to date when building these things? How do you learn about how other companies are kind of tackling similar problems? Are there meetups you're going to in the Bay Area? Are you just reading blogs and watching YouTube videos all day? Like, take us through, yeah, kind of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, meetups is a great way to meet. I think I've been to some of those recent meetups. One of them was by Meta, which is called Scale at AI. It was really, really very well done meetup. And I was impressed with how Meta has optimized every single layer of infra. And they have done amazing. They have developed something called MetaMate, which is super cool. And when you look at those experiences, you're like, wow, there is so much more to do here. So I definitely deriving inspiration from all of the, smart co-peers in different industries, different companies. And that's definitely one way. And then I think I do see still when you apply those inspirations to your use case, there is still quite a bit of steep learning, trying out different things. So nothing just works what worked for other companies just like that. There is, dollar challenges, cost challenges, scale challenges that you have to go back and redraw and figure out how it works. But definitely, I think meetups, blogs, podcasts like what we are doing together. I mean, yes, I think looking at all of this is definitely one way to learn. Yeah, and this, I think the Bay Area is really good in that sense that there's a lot happening here. So people are really excited to build things. So you find those exciting builders from startups to all the way companies like OpenAI, just trying so many things. So it's very humbling to be in Bay Area, and you just know that you're never done learning because there is new things coming out here in the market all the time, every single day right now almost.
Yeah, I mean, you're at the epicenter of like this next generation of software, basically.
Yeah, totally.
So this was super interesting, Paarth. Any closing thoughts from your side? Like something you wanted to really kind of chat about, something you wanted to bring up on the data engineering show today?
Yeah, basically, I would just say that I think people who are trying out all these technologies, I would recommend everybody, try as many things as you can, and obviously keep a problem in mind because just trying in itself, you can just keep endlessly experimenting right now, and you will not go anywhere. I think having a problem in mind always helps. That way, the energy is a little bit focused and directed. I would say that is definitely my just learnings, and I think keep an eye for experimentation open. I do see one little bit of a challenge building things, right? That you build something, you take a bet on one technology, you build something, and then underneath, new things have already surfaced that keep you outdated. So there is, I would say, it's also a little bit of a pressure situation that whatever you're building is not enough because the expectation has already gone to the next level. So I think it is a little bit hard to, you can say the pace is too fast right now. So as a developer, keeping your customer happy is hard. But then also setting good expectations with your customers is very critical, more critical than before, because what we shipped before in software, the pace has completely changed now. So having that expectation, and obviously keeping your eye for getting feedback from customers is equally important. Being humble enough that you know that what you developed is not perfect and you need to keep iterating and keeping making better. I would just say those would be my quick takeaways as we experiment and go with the next flow of technologies that are coming in here.
Nice, amazing. I think that was
Amazing.
a great closing motivational speech. Couldn't agree more.
Yes.
Thank you for kind of having joined us on the data engineering show today. Yeah, and we look forward to meeting in person when we're in the Bay Area next time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, Eldad. It was great to talk to you guys, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you guys also in person very soon,
Awesome.
hopefully. Yeah.
Sounds great. Perfect.
The Data Engineering Show is brought to you by Firebolt, the cloud data warehouse for low latency analytics. Get $200 credits and start your free trial at firebolt.io.